Zacharias Ursinas, 1534 to 1583. Zacharias Ursinas was born on July 18, 1534, in Breslau, along the Oder River, in the area we now know as Poland. Although his family name in Latin was Ursinus, growing up his friends would have called him by his German name, Zacharias Bar. Translated literally, this means Zacharias the Bear. Despite his last name, there is no indication that young Zacharias was a particularly intimidating or aggressive child. On the contrary, he seems to have been quite a quiet and studious lad. He was educated at the local school in Breslau until he was 15 years old. During that time, he probably received some catechism instruction from a certain man named Moibanus. Presumably, the catechism instruction he received in his own youth shaped, to some degree, the catechisms he wrote later in his life. In 1550, at the age of 15, Ursinus moved to Wittenberg and studied under the well-known reformer Philip Melanchthon. Some years later, he also made a tour of European cities which had embraced the Reformation. Much like Olivianus, on this trip he met leading men of the Reformation, including Henry Bullinger, Peter Martyr Vermigli, and John Calvin. However, by 1558 it was time to return to his hometown of Breslau and begin putting all of his studies to good use. He became a teacher in the local high school and, as part of his curriculum, used the Catechism of Melanchthon, Examination of Ordinands, 1552, to educate the youth. Whether they always realized and appreciated it or not, the youth in Breslau certainly had a very well-equipped teacher to instruct them in the doctrines of salvation. However, soon enough it became apparent to Ursinus that things were not all well and peaceful in his old hometown. Controversy was simmering, again about the doctrine of the Lord's Supper. Ursinus, as a student of Melanchthon, tried to take a more balanced and moderate approach to this contentious issue. Not everyone appreciated his stance. Moreover, Ursinus was not the type of man who could endure, let alone enjoy, heated debates for very long. Already in 1560, he left his teaching post in his hometown and traveled to Zurich. After a short stay there, Elector Frederick III asked him to come and teach in Heidelberg. In short order, he proved his worth as a theological teacher and was appointed professor of dogmatics at the University of Heidelberg. During his time in Heidelberg, he wrote 2 other catechisms, his minor and major catechisms, in addition to his involvement in the Heidelberg Catechism. As mentioned earlier, when Ludwig VI succeeded Frederick III as elector, the political and theological climate in Heidelberg changed. Eventually, in 1578, Ursinus moved to Neustadt an der Weinstrasse and continued to live there until he died in 1583.